Alright, once again, today I'm going to do a movie review, and it is for this movie right here, A Boy and His Dog. Alright, there goes the cover art. Here goes some other cover art. Let me get a little bit closer for you. I think that's the original poster, but this is what they be using for the box. Alright, this book is basically based on a Harlan Ellison story about a boy and his dog. Alright, the boy's name is Vic and the dog's name is Blood. Alright, and this movie was made in 1975 and it stars Don Johnson, his pre-Miami Vice days. Also, this movie also has inspired the Mad Max movies and stuff. So, you know, it's obviously post-apocalyptic after the nuclear bomb and stuff. You know, I wanted to read the story, but you have to find collections of Harlan Ellison, and there's very few collections up in the library and stuff, and the few that have it are always taken out. So instead of trying to, you know, I like to read the story and watch the movie and stuff to try to compare the two, but it's so hard. But maybe at a later date I'll do that. But for right now, we're just, you know, reviewing the movie, and we'll go later on if I have time. Read the book, read the story, because it's a short story. It's not a book. Harlan Ellison, he hasn't written too many books. He's mainly a short story writer and stuff, as well as written a lot of like he wrote the script for this in a couple movies, and he's written a lot of TV shows, sci-fi TV shows like Star Trek and stuff and everything. So he's credited with just, he's just a sci-fi person. He also started like the I believe it's the Clarion, which is a science fiction writer boot camp that he hosts like in the East and the West and South and North. He's just really big before he died. You know, he also had the short story collection. He also edited the short Dangerous Visions, and there was like 3 versions, but 2 came out during his lifetime, and 1 came out posthumously because he didn't really work on it. You know, also with A Boy and His Dog, he also helped with a graphic novel of like the continuing stories, and then also he wrote a novel kind of prose of it. Also, I think it got published after he died and stuff. So I was thinking about getting that, but once again, it's very hard to get. Man, even the film, I was really surprised I was able to get it on DVD in my library. Even though I did, after I got this, I found out that it was on the internet, on YouTube, which really had me. It was like right afterwards, because I was looking for, I put it in, you know, One is Dog by Ralph Ellison, full movie, 1975, and I just could not find it. But then in my searches, it came up in the search, and it said full movie and stuff. I was watching YouTube, and I clicked on it, and boom, there was a movie and stuff, you know. But this is a better kind of better picture quality and sound than what was on the internet. But hey, if you want to go on the internet and find it, you know, it's 1975, A Boy and His Dog, starring Don Johnson and stuff. There's a whole story of how he made that, but I'll let you go online and see that. Other people have reviewed it. Well, basically, like I said, the premise is basically a post-apocalyptic story. You know what I'm saying? Just like Mad Max, but and you know, basically, when the post-apocalyptic happened, he was a kid. It's about, I think, 4 years afterwards, and in the story, he's about 16. All right, basically, you know, and he hooks up with a dog, and Vic hooked up with the dog Blood, and Blood, he has psychic abilities. He has a psychic link to Vic, and so. And the dynamic between them is, you know, Vic, he's a little bit on the older side for a dog. But the dynamic is basically, you know, well, Vic, he's 16 years old. He's a horn dog. So he and a lot of women, there are women out there in the post-apocalyptic, but they're hidden. They're like, as soon as women hook up with any group, they're hidden, they're locked away. and stuff. It's like older times, you know. If they come out there, they basically get raped, you know, like in the first scene of it, Vic and Blood come across these, you know, guys who are like in this abandoned building, and you know, Blood, he can tell that, you know, he senses that a woman is there and stuff, and so they wait till they get finished and then they leave, and then they go in, and you know, of course she's tied down and she's been raped, but then also they cut her up and stuff, and Vic, he's so used to it that he gets mad and says, you know, she was still good. They didn't have to cut her up. They ruined a totally good woman. That's the kind of society. It's, you know, dog eat dog. You know what I'm saying? Rape is so common that it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, and basically that, and also, not only does he use the psychic link to find women for Vic, but then he also can sense raiders and stuff. And so he's like the alarm system for him, right? And that's what he does for Vic. And Vic, because Blood is kind of older, he can't hunt for himself and stuff. He can hunt, but he can't do it as well because he's a little bit older. Vic gets food for him and feeds him. So that's their symbiosis. You know what I'm saying? Also, Blood has obviously, he's educated and stuff, so he basically, you know, educates him, you know, along the way. He teaches them this and that. He gives them education while they're wandering throughout the landscape. And of course, it's a desert landscape, as most apocalyptic movies are, and so they're basically just wandering around the landscape. You know what I'm saying? So that's the premise of it. So basically, the plot summary is basically the wandering around, okay, and they're doing their thing. You know, there's even a scene where Blood senses a person who basically, this slave master, he has a whole bunch of slaves, he has his car, and he basically has them mining for stuff, and it turns out that he actually got supplies and buried them. So he gets the slaves out, whip them, and as they're bringing up stuff, you know, he's sloppily piling it, and Vic just goes and raids and gets the stuff and then runs away. And the guy lets him. He's like, that's all right, let him go. We'll catch him later, because he's a slave driver. So he plans on getting him later on. And that's how they live. And he gives Blood food and stuff. So that's kind of their introduction to what they have to do, right? The main plot of the story basically jumps off when there's a stag film, okay? And everyone comes to the stag film, and it's like a really old stag film, like the 1950s or something, because of, you know, I believe the story was published in the 60s. So, and oh, sorry, the timeline, it's the story actually takes place in this year, 2024. So yes. So it's written in the 60s, the movie is in the 70s, but it takes place in 2024. So basically, they're living off of scraps from everything that happened before 2020, I believe, when the explosion happened. So anyway, sorry to just going back. But anyway, so basically they're at the stag film and they're watching, blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, Blood senses that there's a woman there. And Vic's like, where? And he's like, that one over there. You know, the one dressed kind of nerdy, right? And they pan to it, and, you know, it's a little man, but, you know, obviously you could kind of tell that's a woman because he's little, but she's dressed like a boy, you know. Hair's not out, has a kind of beanie hat on and army fatigues and dressing like a boy, right? So they hang around after the movie. She gets up and she follows him. She goes to some abandoned building and stuff. And in the abandoned building, all of a sudden she's changing from her male clothes to a woman clothes and stuff. And of course, Vic is watching her. All of a sudden he jumps on her, right? And he pulls out, he has his gun, because everyone has a gun. Pulls on the gun and is like, yo, get on that mattress. So it basically he's about to rape her. And right as he's about to rape her, all of a sudden blood comes in. He's like, what? Dude, I'm about to get busy. He's like, yo, raiders come. So they fight off the raiders together. She even joins in, right? And the raiders have a dog, and he gets in a fight with the dog. And he's able to fight them off, shoot a couple, and they go away. He helps Vic, shoots the dog, right? Instead of going out, right? Because Blood is injured, so he has to wrap him up, right? And the raiders are still there, so they decide to bunker down into the thing, right? She relents and they have sex. After they have sex, she starts talking to him, trying to convince him, hey, I live underground. It's safe. You can come there. Why don't you live with me, right? He's like, no, I want to go down and live underground. I like living up here and stuff. And what's down there and stuff? We have a civilization. We have food, sanitation, clothes, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to fight all the time like you do up here, you know, come, but you can't bring the dog. And he's like, oh, I want to abandon my dog, right? All of a sudden, Blood calls him out because they're like in a barricaded like little room inside the abandoned building and stuff, right? He comes out, Blood's like, yo, she's trying to play you, man. Don't mess with her. She's dangerous, you know. You already got your sex. Leave her alone. Let's move on. There's other women. He's like, well, no, I want to keep this going and stuff and keep a relationship and blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. And she's talking about they have an underground city. He's like, no, don't trust her. We can't, But he doesn't listen, right? So he goes up back to try to convince her, and she's hiding at the doorway. He looks up, boom. She hits him with like his flashlight and escapes and goes and stuff, right? But at the same time, right where she's at, she leaves this card, right? This mysterious card. And he wakes up and he's like, well, what happened? She was like, she left. And he's like, well, what's this? He's like, it's some type of key access card or something, or maybe it's a credit card or key access. I don't know. So he's like, well, I'm gonna go find her. He's like, dude, don't. This is a setup. You can't trust her. He doesn't listen. He's just thinking about the sex because, you know, he's a sex star, you know. So basically, they basically track her down, and basically they come to this door tunnel thing right in the middle of the fucking desert, right? And Blood, he's trying to keep up at this point. You know, he's bandaged him. He's hurt. He's like, dude, let's just keep going. I can't keep up. You see, I'm hurt. He had to basically carry him most of the way. He's like, I'm starving. I'm gonna die. Leave her alone. She can't help you. You don't know what the hell's going on. He's like, well, I gotta find out and see. He's like, well, if you don't want to stay, go. He's like, no, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna be up here when hopefully you get up out of there. So he goes down, right? Boom. And it's basically a whole series of tunnels and stuff and But he basically eventually finds his way, and then he comes across this big clearing. Now basically it's eternal night. Now this is bad shooting and stuff because you could tell that they're just shooting at nighttime. But basically everything is dark. There's no sky. They don't even show the moon to make it seem like they're underground and stuff. But anyway, so they're in this small I wouldn't even say 1950s, like a 1850s town on a frontier or something, where every chick is with these frilly dresses, kind of looking kind of semi-Amish, but not so innocent. And the dudes, they all look like they're farm laborers and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And he comes across them and stuff, but all of a sudden, security's right on them. They get him, you know, and they're like, who are you? And come with us, and And so they're dragging him through the whole town, right? And of course there's people there, and of course there's women there, and he sees all these young females, and he just tries to grab at them and stuff. He's like a kid in a candy store. They're like, no, come on. And they take him to like a church, and they're having like this meeting where the leader, this old guy, he's judging people and stuff. It's basically court, right? And he's judging people, and he's basically sending them off to the farm, right? Apparently farm is like punishment, you know what I'm saying, for whatever the misdoings, right? Then all of a sudden, the girl comes in, right? And she's about to go to the thing, and she meets up with this boy, right? And it turns out she's actually the daughter of the guy that's doing the judging. That's the mayor of the town and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And she comes up in there, right? And he lets her know, hey, you know, you brought back a good one. We can really use him. And she's like, well, thank you. You know, I tried my best. You know, hey, when will I get a position of leadership? I've been doing this forever. I should start to be in the leadership line. And her father's like, oh, well, don't worry about it. Your time will come. Just wait. Right now, you know, it can't happen now. He comes up with all these excuses, right? And he's like, bye. And as soon as she leaves, he talks to his second and third in commands like, yo, is that boy eligible to marry my daughter and stuff? She's like, oh, yes. He's like, okay, well, in about a month or two, we'll marry her off. Blah, 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 blah. You know, so he has no plans on giving up no power, right? She goes back outside to the dude she's met. Apparently, this is her boyfriend or something, but they're keeping it kind of quiet. They're acting like they're friends. And she basically says how, hey, I'm sick and tired of waiting. I'm going to be nice and be sweet and kind and da-da-da, but we're going to take power. I'm sick and tired of waiting for their old Mahans to die, and they're pushing me off. We're going to take power. He's like, well, I'm ready. We got people ready to go. She's like, okay, wait for me. Everything will be straight, right? She leaves. All of a sudden, they bring him in, right? They bring in Vic, right? And they tell Vic, hey, you know, you could be an asset because basically our men down here are, turns out they're not fertile. They can't impregnate any women, and they are also impotent. So they need to basically breed, and they're like, well, we want you to breed with our young ladies. And he goes, you know, he's 16. He's like, bring it on. I'll impregnate anyone you want to. Matter of fact, well, we start with her and one of his second in commands and stuff. And she laughs, right? Then they cut to, they're at a church/fertility clinic where he's tied down, and they have a machine going into his stuff, sucking out sperm. And they're having all these women lined up throughout the whole thing, and he's marrying them. One by one, they're marrying. It's like 40 or 50 young girls and stuff. And they're having this marriage ceremony. He's tied down, gagged and stuff, and they suck out da-da-da. For each one, they suck out a sample of sperm and stuff. And it's like, well, this is for her. Sample 13, 27, whatever is for her, right? So while they're doing that, all of a sudden, old girl comes in, you know, the one that seduced them, right? And instead of doing the ceremony, she has this big, long bouquet, right? And during the ceremony, she hits the priest, knocks him out, and unties old boy, and is like, listen, you're gonna help me get up out of here and rebel. Okay, I want to be in charge. These old fogies don't know what they're doing. Don't worry about it. You can easily beat up our men are wimps. You can easily beat these guys, right? He's like, whatever, I gotta get the hell up out of here, right? It's like, no, I gotta help you. You can't get up out of here without my help. And I need you, so we need each other. She's like, fine, right? So of course, they go out and they push through everyone, all the girls and security guards, right? Because they're wimps, they just give way, right? And so they're running, and they meet up with the guy she met, you know, she was talking to earlier, and about 4 or 5 other guys, right? And so they just run out and stuff. And while they're running out, he's like, screw you, I'm going back to the surface. He's like, you can't go back to the surface, you have to help me. I got you out, you owe me. He's like, I don't owe you anything. I gotta get back out and get dirty again. This is not my world. You just used me. Y'all just wanted my sperm. You got my sperm. Screw you, right? But of course, it turns out they can't. The security forces come, right? They capture the boys, right? And there's this big, burly dude. He's been the one knocking people around. He's like the head security guy, right? He's beat them up, knocked them down, and they have like an impromptu trial right there. And he says, farm, farm, farm. And the big dude goes, snaps all their necks, just psh, psh, right? And then he declares, well, you know, the outsider, we've already got his sperm, and he's a problem kid, you know, farm him out, and then he places claim on his daughter and says farm her out because of a rebellion, farm her out too, basically kill her. And then, you know, security people's like, well, they're over there because they're still hiding, watching from afar, you know, the trial, right? So he goes over there to him. He's got his gun. He shoots the thing. All of a sudden, it comes out sparks. Turns out the big security guy is an android, right? So he's shooting him, and they're running. He shoots him, I don't know how many times before he finally just gives way. And so they run out, and they get into the tunnels. They get out the town. They get into the tunnels. She knows she's leading him out. The mayor is just like, well, you know, she's gone. We'll move on. Get another clone out of the factory, out of the warehouse and stuff, and get him to clean up this clone, the cyborg, and get these corpses of these rebels up out of here, and we'll move on. They just act like nothing happens, right? So they get to the top, right? And they're running. They get out to the thing. It's nighttime now. She wants him. She's like, we can't stay here. Eventually, you know, they'll get another cyborg out of the thing, and they'll come up here and they'll catch us. So we need to move and stuff in order to survive, right? He's like, well, I can't leave Blood. I need him. I've been with him forever and stuff. And she's like, well, we can't survive with him. He's already injured. Leave him there. He's like, no. So he basically searches around for him in the dark, and he finds him, right? Turns out he's behind the big old thing, right? And he brings him to the front where the light is, and, you know, she's up here pleading with him, let him go, let him go. We need to go. We can't stay here forever. We need to find shelter somewhere else. They're going to come up from this door and get us, or some random person coming along is going to get us. We need to hide and find shelter. We're out here in the open. Even the dog is talking to him with the psychic link, telling him, hey, listen, man, I'm hurt. I'm dying. I've been up here while you were down there. I'm starving. I'm on my last leg. Don't worry about it. Leave me. You can go. He's at a conundrum. Vic is at a conundrum. Do I keep this girl and go? But she wants to use me. She doesn't care about me at all. All that lovey-dovey talk was crap. She's just manipulating me. I can't trust her. She's already used me. But this is my friend. I've been with him forever. He's teaching me stuff. You know, I feed him. He warns me when raiders are coming. He lets me know when other girls there. And he's stuck, right? So they cut to, all of a sudden, the morning time. Turns out the morning time, instead of abandoning the dog, he actually kills the girl and then uses her meat to feed Blood. And Blood, now that he's nourished, he recovers and he survives and stuff. And they make jokes about how she was didn't taste too bad, and they have to go on, and they, you know, it's morning time now, and they walk off into the morning sun and stuff. So they're going to continue on their journey. So and that's the end of the movie Boy and a Dog. Like I said, I haven't read the story yet, so I don't know how much it stays close to the story. Like I said, he continued on and wrote a graphic novel, and there's a prose version of it, so I haven't really got to that. You can probably look on the internet. I saw some stuff on the internet, but I can't really remember how they just kept on wondering. But that's the story. You know, yeah, and I can really say that, you know, by, you know, the boy, you know, choosing the dog, he basically chose survival, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, he can go off with this girl, he can have sex, but, you know, she's from the underground. What can she do? You know, and then plus Blood, he has psychic power. He has knowledge to teach him. He can sense other women. He can sense raiders before she can. Okay, before him and her. You know what I'm saying? So it's about survival. You know, whereas a girl, she just wanted to use them as a pawn in her grasp for power and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So if she is underground trying to grasp the power, she's going to grasp the power. So she's a pawn for him. So she basically chooses the person that actually, I mean, even though their thing is symbiotic, it's business, it's more deeper and more true than his relationship with her. Basically, the boy Vic and Blood's relationship is symbiotic. You know, it's mutually beneficial. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he chooses. And I kind of like that. It's realistic. You know, a lot of movies, they would basically go with the love story and stuff and you know what I'm saying? They might like kind of, you know, split the difference and have him keeping him up for till he dies and then eventually burying him. But when you think about it, if he does that, instead of killing old girl and giving a boy the food so he can survive, he diminishes his chances of survival. Because what can she do? She's a woman. She's a weak woman. If anything, she'll attract raiders and stuff. Because everyone will find out, even if she dresses like a boy, people will figure out that she's a girl, and that'll attract raiders. And eventually, you know, you can't win every fight. Whereas, you know, he can still find other females with Blood. And then also Blood, he's a warning system. He can sense other people, other raiders like miles off. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's the better relationship. And then plus, he teaches him things, you know? So, you know, that's, instead of going the love route that all these movies, it goes the realistic route. Because you're in an apocalyptic landscape where there's people have to fight and scratch out to survive. It's a smarter move. So I kind of liked it because it kept true. It didn't go the, you know, love route with most movies will have them ended up together, married and stuff, and having kids and In a post-apocalyptic world where it's kill or be killed, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. So yeah, I like the ending because it was truthful. I also like the fact that, yeah, this is just a good movie. I liked it. You know what I'm saying? It was bare bones and stuff. You know, they didn't have any flash and dash. It was real simple, and it got down. I mean, of course, that's what's going to happen. If you're in an apocalyptic landscape where there's not much resources available to survive, you know, and you're up in this desert, you have to make hard choices. And he made the hard choice. He made the hard choice to survive. You know what I'm saying? And then plus, when you think about it, he's already a nerd to violence, you know, and he's already a nerd to sexually assaulting women. So, you know, he basically stays true to the environment and the character that that is produced in that environment. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so a lot of people might symbolically say, oh, this is bros over hoes. No, it wasn't bros over hoes. It was survival. Okay? That's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Because even if Blood is not able to detect women, he can still detect danger. Okay? And that's way more important than having sex. You know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, you know, he educates them about life. You know, as they're walking along, he tells them about the different flowers that are there and the vegetation that's up in the around and stuff and things like that. You know, he educates his mind. He actually acts as a mentor towards him and stuff. So, yeah, you know, whereas an old girl, she, like I said, you know, she just sees him as someone she can use, you know. And I definitely think that if he would have kept with her, he would have definitely like kind of eked out a living and stuff. But then eventually she would have tried to convince him to go back down into the town, okay, and try to take over. And they probably would have died, okay. Yeah, you know. So I really like the dynamic of it. I really like, because basically it gets down to humans' base needs. Humans' base needs. They need, you know, food and shelter to survive, and then of course, you know, the urge is for sex. You know, that's an urge in order to perpetuate the species. So yeah, you know, I like this, how it just gets down to the bare bones. Even when they got down under to the underground city, even the politics there, it was simple, real simple. Hey, we got this dude, patriarch, he's in charge. They need to survive. They're protecting themselves. They're growing their food. They have a problem because being down there makes the men impotent and unfertile and stuff. You know, even though they're impotent, they're still unfertile because they have the machine to get the sperm out. So basically, they use what they have, young women, and their brains to perpetuate their society by tricking any young man to come down there, get the sperm, wham bam, thank you, and bye. And even the dynamics of the young lady. Basically, there's a succession where you go from the father to the next child, but of course, she doesn't want to wait for him to die and stuff because I think she's about early 20s and stuff, and of course, her father's played by Jason Robards. He's about late 50s, early 60s, so he's actually old enough to be her grandfather instead of her dad. But she doesn't want to wait till he dies. She wants power now, and it's real simple. She's in this path where she's used as a seductress, but she decides to turn the tables and use that seductress skills to get the same guy that they want to use to his sperm to have her rebellion. Okay. And it's pretty simple, power. A lot of people, that's what they want, past food and shelter to survive and sex to perpetuate the species. Some people, they're into power, you know what I'm saying? And they don't care if it's just them and one other person. They want to be in charge of that other person. You know what I'm saying? If some people, they want more than other people. If, say, you have, I don't know, like a piece of food, like a piece of meat and stuff, and that's all. The person, they're going to want more. They're going to do whatever they can to trick or force to where their piece of meat, when they divide it up, is bigger than the other person's, because they want more. They're greedy, This movie really got down to the basics of humans and how they operate. Didn't have no extra BS. And the fact that it was shot on a small scale, but was able to tell like an epic story of survival. Because when you look at it, he was trying to survive and the town was trying to survive. They're both trying to survive and everyone else is trying to survive. Even the people that showed the Stag movie, they were just trying to survive by having this business there in the middle of nowhere. The guy, the slave master, who basically had the slaves digging up his supplies and stuff, they're trying to survive. The girl who tries to take over, she wants to survive, but she wants to survive at top. And then at the end, when Vic kills her in order to feed blood, he did that in order to survive. Because he couldn't survive with her. He could survive with blood, but not her. You know what I'm saying? To give him flesh so he can survive and go on. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I like this movie. It was great. Honestly, I think that it was even better than all these other post-apocalyptic films. Even the movies that it inspired, like Mad Max, right? All three of the original and the remake and stuff, and other post-apocalyptic stuff, like say the Book of Eli or what's another one? Know what? There's so many. It's just better than all of them. Okay, and this really proves that you don't need, because this was made independently, and you don't need to have a gazillion-dollar budget to tell a good story and then tell a good apocalyptic story. And the director, I forgot his name. He did a damn good job with very little. This movie can hold up and is actually better than all these big budget sci-fi movies out here. And I really recommend it. If your local library, like my local library branch, is very good, has a lot of foreign and obscure films and silent films, I looked up, or you can look online. I found it also on YouTube. It'll take you a little while. It didn't come up directly later on. Like I think about 3 or 4 days later, it came up in my recommendations because I was looking for a book review of the story and then also a review of the movie and stuff. Eventually did come up. I don't know if it's still up, but you can look for it. I think I tried to view it on streaming services and stuff, and it didn't come up. But basically, it's out there. You can find the story. You'll probably have to look in collections of Harlan Ellison. Or another thing I noticed with him, a lot of his stuff, he has collections of his stuff, but not a lot in my library. But then also you'll find it in collections with other authors and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I recommend going to the book and then looking at the movie if you want an alternative than all this big budget crap that, you know, they have all these special effects and they don't do anything. But you could tell a great story without the special effects. You can have in-camera effects. This was made in 1975 on a low budget, and they made a masterpiece. So highly recommend it. Go get the short story. If you can find the graphic novel and then also the prose version of it. Go ahead and do it and watch the movie. So, all right, that's about it.